Welcome back. So, as I mentioned, the BECE result was the results were released, I think, earlier this week or sometime earlier late last week, and WAEC indicated that quite a number of students had their results cancelled, and so they released the results of the basic education certificate examination with more than 600,000 up for placement in senior high schools, and we understand that. Some 177 candidates' results have been cancelled for malpractices, and 700 candidates whose subject result were also withheld. And so we'll get into more of that, what accounted for it, exactly the specific malpractices that they were engaged in. And you're speaking to the head of public affairs, Mr. John Kapi, on this very matter now. All right, so let's touch base with Mr. John Kapi now. Mr. Kapi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Was it earlier this week you released the BECE results, and you had quite an extensive report on it, but of particular interest to me, just on a general basis, what do you think about the performance of the student? Would you find it impressive? Well, we've lost him briefly there, but we'll try and reestablish contact with him. Mr. John Kapi is a public affairs director of WAEC, and he's speaking to us.
Results are released. Then, yeah.
All right, Mr. Kapi, we lost you briefly. If you can come back, just make your point.
Yeah. So I was just trying to say that with the BEC, we hardly do any analysis of the general performance because the state 9 grading system is year specific, and so we.
Seem to have lost him again, finding difficulty establishing proper contact with him. But as we said, the BECE result that we released, over 600,000 results, over 600,000 candidates who took part in the examination was released, with the exception of 177 candidates whose entire results have been cancelled for malpractices, and 718 candidates whose subject results were cancelled. Now, the council also withheld the entire result of 93 candidates and the subject results of in excess of 1,000 candidates. Then, we have quite a number of schools whose results were also cancelled. Yeah, Mr. John Kapi, we lost you briefly. You seem to be having issues with the network. Can you make the point you were making about you not doing any comparison of the results? All right, we seem to be having some issues there, but as I was making the point, time and time again, we continue to have issues as far as malpractices in the examinations are concerned. And according to WAEC, the results of 119 schools have been cancelled, while the subject results of some candidates from 87 schools have been withheld for further scrutiny. 119 schools have their result cancelled. 119 schools had their result cancelled because of, some concerns about examination malpractice. And I think it is a very worrying situation, and we need to have an honest conversation about why this has happened. Mr. John Kapi, thank you very much. We seem to have had issues with your Zoom, but we have you on the phone now. But let's narrow down to the main issue about examination malpractice. I mean, can you share with us some of the specific malpractices you encountered, for which reason you withheld and canceled some of the results?
Right. So a number of the malpractice cases that we found out when we went on our routine checks was basically the use of mobile phones. There were also situations where there were photocopied answers that had been distributed to the candidates in the examination halls. We also had some of them who had prepared notes on them. Now, these are the ones that were discovered in the course of our routine monitoring. Now, in the course of marking, the examiners also discovered a number of irregularities, basically collusion. And then we also had situations where some of the candidates, after copying from the prepared notes or even the photocopies that they brought into the hall, they left the material from which they copied in their answer booklet. So these are things that have caused us to have to withhold and then, call for further scrutiny. And for those ones that have been established, we've gone ahead to cancel them.
I mean, when you compare, because it does appear that malpractices, as much as we try all we can to nip it in the bud, every year there are cases of malpractices. Why do you think it is persistent?
Well, I think that basically it's as a result of lack of commitment on the part of the people that are mandated to take care of the examinations. Because we have had situations where some of the teachers are alleged to have asked the candidates to pay money so that they'll be assisted in the examination hall. I also think that in some of the cases, the searching that is supposed to be done before the commencement of the examination was not properly done. So as a result of that, the candidates also have a field day and then they decide to do whatever that they can do in order to assess themselves.
I mean, let's talk about the schools whose results you cancelled and those you have withheld for further scrutiny. Can you tell us more about that? What exactly did the schools do?
Well, for the schools, we find out that the entire populace, the school, maybe about 40 or so candidates, they all have the same answers running through. And so you get to know that something has gone wrong.
Wait.
Now, these are things that covered a course mark, and once established, these have
Mr. Kapi, we seem to be struggling to hear you briefly. Your line is, if you can just position yourself properly. You are making the point that for the schools, you saw a certain trend where all the students had the same answers.
Yeah.
The same answers.
They had, they had the same answers, and then, in some cases where there's any variation at all is the same. There's really no variation, if I may put it that way. Spelling mistakes are the same, sentence construction the same. So obviously, that is a sign that something happened that was right.
So in that case, you cancel the results of that school?
Yeah, so what you would do is normally we give them a hearing. So our officers were in the field to meet with the candidates and then to present the evidence before them. And then to let them state exactly what happened. And in most cases, they stated that something happened. So based on that, went out result.
These schools, were they scattered across the country or they were in some specific parts of the country?
Well, they were scattered across the country. I don't have the statistics here, otherwise I would have mentioned the regions, but certainly they were scattered across the country.
What about those that you have withheld? Because we know there are those you cancel completely and those you've withheld. What will they need to do to have their results released?
So for those whose subjects results have been withheld, we have sent out a notice to them to meet with our staffs at all our regional offices, depending on where the offense occurred, and then they can come along with their parents or with their teachers or anybody that they feel would, give them that confidence to face any panel. And then they'll come, the evidence will be presented to them, and then based on that, a decision will be taken afterwards.
Interesting. Then let's talk about the WAEC exams that's happening at the moment. What can you share with us as far as the conduct of it is concerned so far?
Well, so far, we haven't had any challenges with material getting to the examination centers. We haven't had any challenges regarding maybe candidates' ability to get examination centers. The reported have been issues of offense on the part one invigilator that I think I heard you mention that earlier.
Yes.
We also had some cases of impersonation in the Bodo region, and we also had a lot of cases of foreign material, prepared notes on the candidates at some particular centers across the country. We also have apprehended one gentleman who really has no business with the examination, but, was found loitering around the examination center. And when he was accosted, they found out that somebody had taken a snapshot of the questions and sent to him. So solutions have been prepared, and he was returning saying to the candidates when he was apprehended.
I mean, interesting. So you've apprehended, you've had cases of people carrying foreign materials. You've had cases of people, some individuals impersonating others. You've had cases of an invigilator. And of course, and I want you to clarify the situation of the invigilator because it's quite murky exactly why he was taken out. But I'll come to that. Then you've had cases of people loitering around, supposedly out there to help the student. Interesting. But let's talk about the impersonation. I mean, how did this happen, and how were you able to accost the person?
Well, we have all the registration that is done by the candidates is done biometrically. And so we have biometric machines that are carried by our monitors. So when they get to a particular hall, they ask the candidates, that's by your print, your data yes on the machine, and then they can whether you are going to be a candidate or you are the investigator. So it was in the course of checking these that the impersonators were found out and then were picked up.
Then, in the case of the invigilator, what happened? Why was he picked up?
Well, we happened to be on our routine check in one of the schools. Usually the head of office would go around on one of the days just to find out how things are going at the center. And when we arrived at this particular center, there was this invigilator. It was his mode of dressing that was a bit suspicious. And upon, questioning him and then also asking what he had on him, he produced a mobile phone. That was why we decided to, ask him to step aside. The phone was picked up, and then we had to go through it, and we realized that there were snapshots of questions that have been for previous examinations earlier this year. So we handed him over to the police, and they are investigating.
Interesting. We expect that the exams will be done, hopefully, by end of this week. Is that the case?
Oh, no. For the WAEC, it will extend to the 19th of September.
Okay. And when are they expected to get the results released?
Usually we have between 45 and 60 days after the last paper to release the results. And so once we are done on the 19th, the post-examination process will begin. And hopefully 60 days after the conclusion of the examination, the results will be released.
What about funding? Have you received all the necessary funding?
Yes, we have received funding. As to whether we have received the entire amount, I wouldn't be able to tell for now because I have not cross-checked that with the Director of Finance. But then the information I got earlier from them was that I received some such amount that the explanation. Yeah.
But are you aware if there's any debt outstanding with the exception of the ones relating to this WAEC?
Earlier, we had some outstanding payments from the previous years, but then the ministry wanted to do some reconciliation of the figures before they would go ahead and pay. I have not found out whether they have actually paid or not paid, but certainly it was something that they were working on.
What will be your final messages to all the students and all the schools, especially those writing the WAEC exams, especially, again, relating to the examination malpractices?
Yeah, so we still would want to make a passionate appeal to every candidate. It is wrong to engage in examination malpractices. The consequences are dire. They should avoid soliciting support from invigilators, from passers-by, from teachers, and even from their own colleagues. Because all these things are actually detected either in the course of the examination or when the examiners are actually marking the papers. We wouldn't want a situation where people would be clamoring around us, asking why results have been withheld, why results have been cancelled. If every candidate does the right thing, we would process the results and everybody will receive what they actually deserve based on their performance.
Well, Mr. John Kapi, thank you very much, and we're wishing you the very best with the exams. Mr. John Kapi is the Head of Public Affairs at WAEC, and he's just joined me now. Well, Nathaniel Lato is on standby now for sports, but we'll try and connect with him now. Nat, good morning. I mean, just before you came, we were talking about a fire incident that just occurred at Swami Post Office Market. Then the BECE, some examination malpractices. First of all, it's worrying the issues as far as fire outbreaks are concerned. It's not the first time it's happening in the Ashanti region. You know, there was a major fire outbreak in one of the markets there. We've had our fair share here in Accra and across the country. Now, this is worrying, and we don't seem to find sustainable solutions to it.
Okay, so you do remember that between the last election and now, we have had the Agbobloshi fire, we have had the first fire in Kumasi in the market, and then now this one in Swami. Added to all of that, we have had a few pockets of other incidents where fire is involved. The unfortunate happening where you had the helicopter crash where there was a fire. Of course, that one was obviously out of control because of where it happened and all of that. Now, one of the questions I've always asked, which has come up during these conversations, is what is the planning issue here? And how are we tackling these planning issues post these fires? Remember that because of the way we have planned our cities and because of the way we have not necessarily adhered to the planning manuals and the planning blueprints, we always struggle when we have these eventualities. So, for instance, just recently, Sheila was in the Central Business District, and she had one-on-one conversations with the market women, the people who use the Central Business District on a daily basis. Now, question you ask yourself is, are you able to get a clear path or a clear place to walk, even when you go there to go and shop? One question. Second question is, aside the supply trucks that come in with bulk goods to come and fill these shops, are we able to get clear paths which are designated for vehicles, even within the areas where the buildings are, concentrated? Okay? Then the final question is, in the case of an eventuality, do we have fluid access routes that these fire trucks and fire tenders can go through to help us? We've been asking this question. We asked this question when Agbobloshi happened. We asked this question when Kumasi number 1 happened. Number 2 has happened, and we're still asking that question. And you see, unfortunately, as a society, what we're doing here is that we are going around in these circles and would keep asking the same questions, and we'll be having, unfortunately, incident after incident. I think we need to have a final conversation on this, and we need to start, taking action, taking actionable steps to make sure that our planning is right. And also, the other side of all of this is you're looking at the insurance element. Do these market women and these these traders
even have insurance?
Do they insure their shops? Do they insure the goods they buy? And that is also going to open up a conversation about cost of doing business, because they'll tell you that we spend this much money to get the goods in, we spend so much in taxes, and so it becomes difficult to insure these goods. Either way, they are goods that are very fluid and that are running, so we do not find the need to, to insure these goods. And I think that the next time that we get a roving reporter on the ground in the market, we should speak to some of these people and ask them, what the what the plan is. Because what then happens is that politicians, remember, we're still in a political peak period because at least for the MPP, they are looking for a flag bearer for the next election. And so this is where you'd see some of the frontliners quickly take advantage of the situation, go there, get the numbers and get their names and their faces in the minds of the people so that it enhances their top of mind awareness, And so, these are all going to happen. But the question is it always that these market men and women would have to sit back and rely on the benevolence of the public? Okay? What are the plans? I mean, and we cannot immediately say here in the studio, because I will not boast of having those statistics as to whether, if you take the first 10, for instance, the first 10 traders in the market, depending on what kind of goods they sell, whether they insure their goods, So it is a very big, because you see, look at all of these engines. And I'd want to believe that these are engines that are what they call a moving product. On the market, they have a term. They say is a moving product. And, you look at the vehicles that are most used and, and so the probability that someone will come in to, for instance, get a Toyota engine is very, very high because these vehicles, you find most of them on the market relative to other brands of vehicles. And so all of these conversations are being had. And so, Musbao, I am
and even for some of the, what do you call it, the traders, the Asian trader, one of them, he said he just got the goods. He said he just got the goods like a week ago and is yet to sell any of them.
Great. I'm glad you raised this point, Musbao. There's another bit where, their purchase of the bulk goods from wherever it is, whether it's from outside the country or wherever, or from the West Coast, is pre-financed. So let's say you have a car, your car is not in a good condition, you need to change your engine, for instance. You go to them, they say, I have another model, but not the exact one that you have. So give me 3 weeks, but we're going to pick goods, so you can pay for it now. Okay? So you pre-finance. They go in there, they bring the goods, and this morning, unfortunately, the engine is burnt.
Some of them even loans, they've gone for loans with high interest.
Exactly.
And they're hoping to make the returns and pay the loan plus the interest, and now they have nothing. And you talk about the fact that government and the state need to do their best, especially the local authorities, and force the laws as far as spacing is concerned. Because at the end of the day, when this fire outbreak happens, they will not, if they are insured, of course, they'll get their insurance money. But then it's the government who come and dole out 1 million Ghana cedis, 2 million Ghana cedis. You and I are taxpayers' money to try and help them get back on their feet. But in the first place, if we enforce the laws regarding placement and settlement in the marketplace, hopefully we can contain some of these things.
Exactly. So let's get back on the ground. Would start doing assessments of how these markets are planned and how all of these are supposed to be taken care of. Health, safety, and security is a very important aspect of planning and an aspect of operation within the built environment. And so it'll be interesting to get some real figures, get some current trends, and also do a bigger assessment of the problem we have at hand when it comes to all of these.